Namaste and welcome back to yet another episode with SWAS, the doctor's approach to holistic health. Today we have with us Dr. Manaan Gandhi, someone who's been practicing Ayurveda for a decade. He has been very insightful with his description of how the human body can be healed in ways which are so amazing and so easy to adapt. Let's hear on today. I would like to talk to you about food. We want to break down the most important part of holistic healing, which is the Annamaya Kosha. Let's talk about the food that the body needs to, provide it the right nutrition so that we can all live a really healthy and a happy, disease free life. Can you throw some light on what is the concept of food according to Ayurveda?
Food is a very important part of Ayurveda. Ayurveda mentions three pillars of life. So, in order to sustain a healthy sort of life, one of the pillars is food. For any disease to take place, or for that matter, for any treatment also to take place on a disease, there are four factors that come together, or each of them individually, or two of them come together, or three of them come together to form a disease. The first is ahar, which is your diet. Second is vihar, which is your environment, let's say it's weather condition or it's a seasonal change, that's whatever. The third is achar, which means what do you do in terms of regimen? Let's say, do you do yoga, do you not do yoga, do you do something that is, in terms of, a healthy regimen or an unhealthy regimen. And the fourth is vichar, which is thought process. Now, all of these four are extremely important in order to either maintain health or to get better from a disease. And today I think our focus is on ahar, is on diet. Diet is one of the most spoken about things.
Yes.
And the amount of nonsense that goes around in the name of diet is unbelievably unfathomable.
Absolutely.
It's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
So let me give you what the Ayurvedic perspective is. And I think in my understanding, this is probably the most holistic and the most complete understanding of diet that a person can have. So there are a lot of things that we look at in Ayurveda, and we start with, I'll first name all of them and then we'll start explaining each of them. There is Prakriti, there is Karan, there is Sanyog, Rashi, Desh, Kal, Upayukta and Upayog Sanstan. These are all the parameters that you need to understand in order to actually figure out what kind of a diet should a person actually consume.
Okay.
The first one is Prakriti. Prakriti is basically the genetic structure that you're born with. It is unalterable. You cannot change it. Right? You have to live with it. There is no scope or there is no room or there is no way that this can be manipulated and altered. So if anyone tells you otherwise, they lie. Right? Now, how do you identify a Prakriti and why is Prakriti this important in the Ayurveda? The brilliance of the Rishis and the brilliance of Prakriti is the exact same as the brilliance of the periodic table. Why is the periodic table so great? Why do we arrange elements in one particular way and then it's a Nobel Prize winning genius, one of the greatest advancements of humanity? Why? Is because they are arranged in a way where if you know how one of the element reacts, you will know how the others will react in that same table.
So true.
So it reduces your entire experimentation wherein you don't need to check every element on how it reacts. Because when you know one and you've arranged it in the table, you know how the others will behave. So you are able to actually predict and you are able to bypass so much experimentation, so much testing, and you gain so much understanding about something simply by predicting how it works. Prakriti is the same thing. So we are classifying every individual because every individual is unique.
Right.
But we're classifying every individual into 7 of these categories. The first one is Vata, second is Pitta, third is Kapha, the fourth is a combination. So Vata, Pitta, Vata, Kapha, Pitta, Kapha, and the seventh is Sama when all three are balanced.
But doctor, I have heard that even these are in different combinations in each individual. So like we each have a very different thumbprint. Our combination of Vata, Pitta, Kapha, or the combination of this is so unique to just us that even our sibling or our parents won't have that. Is that true? That it's like more like a genetic blueprint of who you are.
So it is a genetic blueprint. And of course it is unique. So you will not have two individuals who will have the exact same Prakriti.
Yeah.
Having said that, that's why the beauty of Prakriti lies here, is that you don't need to check everything about a person.
Yeah.
I can give you a very simple example. For example, if I give you an unidentified plant, and if I ask you, how much time will it take for you to give me all the medical benefits? Probably take 2 lifetimes. And yet in Ayurveda, you have more than 1,000 plants and all medicine benefits are written. So I'm trying to say that it's so difficult to take something that is unknown and try to find out how it reacts to everything. It's almost impossible, right? And that's why the beauty of Prakriti comes in. Because if I am able to successfully classify you, and there are methods and techniques to do that fairly easily, into one Prakriti, I may not be able to tell you exactly, but I'm able to predict what things are going to suit you and what they are not going.
Right.
So that is why Prakriti is very important. Once you know what Prakriti a person is, your entire, forget just the diet, your entire medicine list, what can, the person's behavioral patterns, the person's thought patterns, the person's sleep patterns, every single thing can be predicted once you find out the Prakriti. Of course, within the Prakriti, when a doctor is more nuanced, more knowledgeable, he will be able to also identify the degrees of the Prakriti and give you a little more specific diet, a little more specific kind of a medicine and a lifestyle. Having said that, just by merely understanding the Prakriti, you won half the game. So that is the beauty of Ayurveda. It's not a shotgun method where everyone is given the same thing, and if you have a side effects, I'm sorry, you were just unlucky. It's not that. You know what a person is going to be reacting to and what a person is not going to be reacting
So
to.
are we saying that there will hardly be any side effects?
Why do people come and say that Ayurveda has no side effects? Again, those people are wrong. They do have side effects, but it's minuscule compared to what is actually happening in the other sciences. The reason being is that we do Prakriti examinations. We check what the body's Prakriti is, and then we give medicines accordingly. Every patient is not given the same medicine. I'll repeat what I said last time. We do not treat diseases in Ayurveda. We treat individuals.
Right.
And for treating an individual, it is important to understand the Prakriti or the genetic blueprint of the individual. Cannot be done to the exact level, but can be done to a workable level.
Awesome. So the first was Prakriti. The next?
Yeah. The next is Karan. Karan is just the way you process your food. Right. So processing foods basically changes a lot of chemical.
Is it about
changes.
Hormonal breakdowns within, or the enzymes? Is it about the enzymes?
No, just basic chemical changes. For example, if I take rice that is raw and if I take rice that is boiled, it's going to be very different, right?
Yes.
So similarly, the way you process your food, the way you cook it, yeah. So either you cook it, you boil it, you steam it, you fry it. So the way you process your food is also important, right? So that is Karan. I can give you a very simple example. So adrak, right, ginger, is actually very hot in potency when you consume it, and it's also hot in potency once it's been mixed with the digestive enzymes, which means it is very hot in potency post digestion.
Okay.
Whereas if you take soot powder, which is dry ginger powder, it is hot before consumption, but after processing it becomes cooling.
Yes.
So what differed? It's the same herb, but
the way it's consumed,
the way it's processed. So Karan or processing is very important.
Okay.
Right? There's a technique to make soot. You can't just dry adrak and make soot. And people who do that, then it's not soot. It's just dry ginger powder. Right. So again, processes that you for any kind of a diet, the processes that you're utilizing is very, very important, and you need to know which processes are good for you. So whether you should have boiled food or whether you should have cooked food or whether you should have, it depends, right? So that's the second point that you should know. So the first one was Prakriti, the second one is Karan, the third is Sanyog, and Sanyog is, I think, where your interest peaked last time, and a lot of other people's interest really peaks there. Sanyog is combinations of food, and a lot of food in Ayurveda is not supposed to be combined with each other, because these combinations are in Ayurveda what we call as Viruddha Ahar. Viruddha means contradictory, and Ahar means food. So these are contradictory food. There are things that, for example, milk and fruit, when consumed together, will cause problems. I cannot tell you the amount of patients that I have who's either suffering from allergic issues, if the next stage they'll suffer from an autoimmune disease, and especially skin and respiratory issues.
Yeah.
Most, if not all of them, that have come into my clinic and I've asked them the question, have been consuming milk and fruit from the time they were kids. And most of these kids, I've seen parents, strawberry milkshake is this, the first thing that the child will go and pick up is a strawberry milkshake, and I hold my head and I say, why?
Yeah. And mango milkshakes in this season.
Mango milkshakes, strawberry milkshakes, you'll have the Chiku ice creams, you will have I mean, it's ridiculous. Milk and fruit together.
A case in point, this is some years back, I'm talking already 15 years back. There was this child I was treating for dentistry, and he was in his teenage years, and he used to come up with severe breakdowns, a lot of acne, and then it moved to eczema from acne. And he's a celebrity son. Today he's a well-known big actor himself. And the mother was like, we've done all his hormonal tests, we've done all his allergy testing, we've done everything. We can't figure. The dermat doesn't know. They're giving him cortisone, steroids, everything. And I was like, how about just stopping milk and fruits? Don't give him that, because he was consuming that at least 3 times a day. And they didn't listen to me. But then when push comes to shove and he had something to, shoot for, and he needed all of that to go, for a month, this kid gave this up. He was around 18, 19 at that point, and the thing cleared off. So the body shows you what's going wrong. The skin is the biggest organ.
I'll tell you why this happens. Because when you have milk and fruit, or milk and jaggery, or milk and fish, these are all the very common viruddhahas that I find in my clinic. It affects the spleen.
Right.
And the spleen is responsible for your immune system.
Absolutely.
So when your immune system goes for a toss, allergic reactions, what are allergic reactions? They're nothing but an hypersensitivity immune response. Correct? Okay. So all of these allergic reactions start taking place. And then when they go a little further, then they become autoimmune, wherein your immune system is attacking your own body. And then when still left unchecked for a long time, it will become cancerous. Yeah. So that is why, in fact, I cannot say for certain, but it seems to me that in the West, the amount of cancer is far beyond what is there in India. And you can't simply attribute it to a lack of, people actually diagnosing cancer, because that's no longer the case right now.
Yeah.
But having said that, when I see the people in the West, because I have a lot of patients in all of these countries, and the way they make their smoothies is ridiculous. They would just mix anything with anything, and they would just put it in a blender, and just gulp it.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And in India, at least the mothers would tell their kids, you can't have milk and fruit together, you can't have honey with something hot. It's ridiculous.
But unfortunately, the kids of today are following the West and are consuming those smoothies rather than having, kesar ka doodh. So their things are changing.
Things are changing.
Even in India.
Yeah, so I've seen a surge of patients, and as a young kid. So I just had a kid from Singapore. Guy was about 12 years old. The kid, his father had got him here. His entire body was psoriased. Because you know what this guy used to do? My gym trainers told me to have a banana milkshake every day. And this guy has been having a banana milkshake for I don't even know how long. And what gym trainer? He's 12?
Yeah.
He's 12?
Yeah.
And for years, his gym trainer has told him to have banana milkshake. This entire thing was so bewildering. Yeah. Because I think I've grown up in a different culture, I guess.
Yeah.
But, having milk and fruits like this, and then, because what is psoriasis? It's just an autoimmune disease.
Right.
And young girls having Hashimoto's thyroiditis, and most people who have thyroid don't even check if they have an autoimmune thyroid. Most doctors also don't prescribe.
No, they don't check.
They don't prescribe. I've had patients, and in fact almost every patient I've had who've had thyroid, they have been having thyroid for I don't know how many years, 7 years, 14 years, 20 years. And when I ask them, have you checked if it is autoimmune? Have you done a simple anti-TPO or an anti-thyroxyglobulin or any of these tests? They say no one's prescribed this to me.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know whether their problem is actually autoimmune or not.
No, I think the problem here is that in the medical fraternity, the doctors do not have so much knowledge on food, which is such an essential part. Somewhere, it's a trend that comes and then everybody follows it and then says that. So for gout, people who have gout, right away you're told stop pulses and do not have anything, no dals, no chole, no pulses. Whereas there's no relationship actually between gout and this, but the doctors say this themselves. In diabetes, again, the doctor will have a nutritionist attached who will have no idea on what they're telling the patient. They'll just say, remove carbs from your diet completely, remove starch. But are you getting into the detail of what is food?
I agree with you. I would not say I disagree with you. Having said that, even the people who studied nutrition have no clue what they're talking about. I've dealt with enough nutritionists, more than enough, and I'll explain why. It will come in this entire lecture. I mean, I'm not going to put some allegation and run away without justifying it. I will justify it to the T, because I know exactly what I'm talking about. Right? So anyway, so this is one of the interesting topics that people love is Sanyog. Wherein things that cannot be mixed with each other are mixed. I mean, another very simple example is green tea. When you mix honey with something that is hot, I think if you're doing that, then you should just say bye-bye to your hair and welcome liver issues. And people who've been having a lot of pitta increasing things like vitamin C during COVID were complaining, why is my hair going out during COVID? And people, I think, had this general Twitter agreement that COVID causes hair loss, even though they've never been infected with COVID. But they wouldn't realize that it's vitamin C. Again, the point is that the Sanyog is something that really needs to be taught, I think, at a school level, at a level that should be very primary. It should be a part of a primary education, because nowadays the mothers themselves don't know it, so they're not going to tell their children not to have milk and fruit together.
Such a basic thing.
It's sad. I mean, there's no other word that I can say. It's sad. Right? And then there are doctors who say all this is nonsense and you should do it and all, without really understanding how it's going to affect that poor kid.
Absolutely.
So I just feel bad. I don't know what else to feel.
Also, the same thing, if it's consumed at a particular time of the day, does it matter? Like if you have yogurt in the morning and Rizal is having it in the evening.
No, that point will come a little later.
Okay.
But that doesn't come in the Sanyog part.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
That comes in the Kala part.
Okay.
So we will come to that. So I think as far as Sanyog is, I'll again reiterate, milk and fruits, you should have a 2-hour gap between them. Though then dahi ek saath nahi rehti, you can't have milk and curd together as well. You can't have milk and jaggery together. You can't have milk and fish together. You can't even have honey with anything hot. Forget even hot. You can't even have honey with anything mildly warm. So because I sometimes love to have a little bit of roti and honey. Right? I don't know. I like it. So I have to wait for 20 minutes before the roti is a little thanda before I can touch it to the honey.
Right.
So that is also very important to understand. So that is Sanyog.
So we've spoken about 3 things.
Prakriti, Karan, Sanyog.